Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Straight Spouse Network podcast, Straight Spouse Voices. I'm your host, Kristen Kelbley, and I was a straight spouse. Our guest today is Russ Chapman. Russ was married for 12 years before he discovered his wife was a lesbian. They divorced shortly after. He has 2 children with his ex-wife, both now grown. He attended the Gay Pride Millennial March in Washington, D.C. in 2000. And he has spoken publicly on behalf of straight spouses, including in radio show interviews and on TV appearances with Montel Williams, Anderson Cooper, and on Good Morning America. His story was also featured in an article in O Magazine. Russ is currently single and digging it. Russ, welcome to the Straight Spouse Voices podcast. I'm very excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris, and same here. Very excited to speak with you.
Okay, so at the top of the show, we always just dive into people's straight spouse stories. And Russ, I have not yet heard all of the ins and outs of your particular straight spouse story. So I'm wondering if you'll tell us your story.
Ins and outs, that's very interesting. As you said, I was married for 12 years. We were together for 14. Well, I dated for 2. I thought everything was okay, except for the usual 12-year marriage blues. One weekend, a whole bunch of stuff happened. Come Sunday evening, trying to figure out what's going on, I came across a letter. I read the letter. I'm like, damn, put the letter away. I'm trying to filter things, and it dawned on me, letter was signed by a girl we knew. Took the letter out again. The wife walked in while I'm reading the letter, and her first words to me were, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. Russell didn't handle it that well at all.
Okay.
Kind of blew up a little bit.
What was in the letter, and what were the things that had happened that weekend that had tipped you off that things were a little off?
We were on a date with another couple, and she was just off. We were walking along the Hudson River, and I put my arm around her, and she pushed me away. Did that twice, and then we went out for an extra dinner drink, and things at the bar were just not her normal reaction.
Okay, got it.
That was on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting enough, her sister showed up at my door the next day to ask me what was going on with her, because she had seen some quirks.
Yeah.
That were related to something outside of me. So that Sunday afternoon is when I started searching.
Got it. And that's when you found the letter.
That's when I found the love letter. Little back history, she had had a heterosexual affair early in the marriage, which I had kind of like buried, and that came back, which is why I started looking for something specific to point to what was going on.
You had a reference of, you had experienced her maybe behavior being off before, so it kind of clued you in that something might be going on again.
Bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But this was very sudden. The woman involved was living in Ohio at the time. So there wasn't anything other than the limited contact you could have through phone or the internet at the time.
Right.
So there was no physical contact between them.
Right.
For me to pick up on. The love letter was a result of her going away to visit this friend who was a family friend for many years.
Okay.
And it referenced things that had happened and things that were planned.
Physical things?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So pretty unambiguous then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty much laid out.
Got it. Okay.
What had happened and what was going to happen.
Okay.
So after a very brief volatile day or two, we started talking. I can't say it was open on both ends because she was very guarded in the beginning as to what was going on, or which most of I knew, but she wasn't sharing. So for a while, a couple of weeks, we went back and forth. I moved out of the bedroom because that's what she wanted. And at that point, I was still very much in love with the person I thought I had married.
Right. Right.
So I was willing to acquiesce to all kinds of things.
Right.
Her partner, having been a family friend, I had contacted her and asked her to step away
Mm-hmm.
in an effort to try to save the marriage. But apparently that wasn't an option.
Was it not an option for the friend, or was it not an option for your wife at the time either, or not an option for both of them?
As it turns out, it was not an option for anybody.
Got it. Okay.
What was going on was going to happen. I added her in September. Our anniversary was in October.
Mm-hmm.
We celebrated our anniversary, which was really weird because I took her to see the Black Swan.
Yeah.
Which is a story about a swan coming out.
Right.
So I'm like, what the hell? It's something she wanted to see, obviously for a reason. So that was a long night.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in October. About that time, I had moved out of the bedroom. And it was sometime in November when I said to her, you got to tell me what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying like hell here, and you're not giving me anything.
Mm-hmm.
So she went away. She was in drum corps
Mm-hmm.
as a teenager in college. So nothing against drum corps, but there's a large gay population involved.
Mm-hmm.
She had a good number of gay friends that she could turn to.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you got to do something here. I need to know what we're doing. And she went away for a couple of days with a couple of her friends and came back Sunday morning. We sat down on the bed and she said, I can't do this. We need to separate. I said, separate or divorce? She was divorce.
Mm.
So I said, okay. And I went to a Giant game.
Right.
Because that's where the people who knew me and loved me were going to be. My father, my brother, my sister, my friends.
Right.
And that it was, from September to early November, it was over.
Was she saying at the time, I think I may be a lesbian, or was she not talking about her sexuality at all? Was she confused? Was she scared of telling the truth, do you think?
I think, Kristen, the truth was there.
Mm-hmm.
We never, I don't know if the words gay, lesbian ever came out in our discussion, but
Mm-hmm.
it was obvious who she wanted to be with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a woman. And I don't know. I remember at one point, in fact, it may have been that day when she asked me for the divorce, I asked her, please don't go butch on me.
Okay.
I never liked her in short hair.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But there was never I'm a lesbian statement from her.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There just wasn't.
Got it.
It was all understood.
Did you start divorce proceedings right away then, or how did that unfold?
We decided to stay together through the holidays. The children were young at the time. So we went through the motions, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and everything. And it was after Christmas, she asked me when I was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her I wasn't leaving. I'd done nothing wrong.
Mm.
And she said, so what do you expect me to do? I said, well, you can either stay here or you can leave. But I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after New Year's, I took the kids away for a weekend. And she and her partner came and took what she wanted. And she moved out.
Mm.
And that was early January. And then we were divorced in February.
Wow. Okay. So it moved fast.
It moved very fast. From my filing for divorce, it took 51 days.
Wow.
Because I knew people in the courthouse.
Right.
And she just wanted out.
Yeah.
She wanted out to the point where I got the house, both cars, joint custody, bank account. She just wanted out. She wanted to be with who she wanted to be with.
Right. Wow. Okay, Russ, thank you for sharing your story. And we're going to take a quick break, and then I have some questions I want to ask about what's happened since then. And we'll talk more with Russ Chapman after a quick break. Hey, everyone. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Straight Spouse Voices podcast today. If you think we're doing good work and you want to hear more straight spouse stories, we need you to do us a solid. Leave us a review or rate us with lots of stars on your podcast app. Or tell one friend about our show so they can tune in too. The more people who listen, the more we can keep this thing going. And finally, if this podcast has been helpful to you, please consider donating to help keep us on the air. You can show us the money at weblink.donorperfect.com/voices. And thank you for your support. And we are back with more Russ Chapman. Okay, so Russ, we've heard your story, and I have a question for you. So when we talked before the interview, you had mentioned that you outed your spouse. What did that mean?
I think when I wrote that down, I was talking about finding the letter and confronting her.
Got it.
I didn't wait for her to tell me what was going on.
Right.
But I also didn't hold anything back when we started the divorce process.
Okay.
I was not shy.
Got it.
When she asked me for the divorce, I was not going to keep any secrets, which she did not like particularly.
Right.
But I was damned if I'm going to go out and people know that we're breaking up, and I'm going to have them look at me and wonder, does he not make enough money? Does he drink too much? Does he hit her? Is he seeing? I wasn't going to take the blame for the breakup of our marriage and our family.
I'm so glad you said that. One of the things I think is really common in the straight spouse experience, it's a phrase that I think Amity Pierce Buxton coined, I believe, I hope I'm attributing this correctly, when she founded the Straight Spouse Network. And I've heard repeated many times is that, when our spouse comes out of the closet or finally reckons with their sexuality, we go in. And oftentimes we are then forced into a space of secrecy. And sometimes that's because our spouse is not publicly out yet. And of course, we're told in the culture, well, you're not supposed to out anybody. That's a big no-no. Like, people have to come out, right? But at the same time, I'm going to say this, is that it is really painful and toxic for straight spouses to live in this closet not of our own making. And we do get, we talked on a previous episode, but we do get to tell our own narratives. And there is something about saying, how you claimed for yourself, I did not destroy this marriage. This marriage is not coming apart because of something I did or my lack or failure. My marriage is coming apart is because my wife wants to be with a woman. And that's integral, I think, sometimes to our recovery as straight spouses in being able to tell our truth. And oftentimes there's this embargo on us being able to speak what our experience has been. Yeah,
it was very important to me. I understand. I've been around a long time, and I know of the situations where because of jobs or money or, I don't know, family pressure, whatever, the straight spouse holds on to the secret for their spouse. I understand them. I don't always agree with them. But for me, I said earlier she had been in a heterosexual affair, which I kept secret from everybody. And I live with that, especially with my family. And this time I was just, no, I'm not going to carry that.
Right.
And I'm not going to have people, like I said, the kids were very young, and I wasn't going to have people in our community look at me and judge me for what was happening to my family. Yeah. I was very willing to put the blame where it lay. And she wasn't always happy with that. Yeah. I love how you said I wasn't going to carry that. Yeah. You have enough going on in this situation that weighs on your shoulders. And to carry the blame too just doesn't help. You bring up a good point. Like oftentimes there are job considerations and there are family considerations, sometimes religious community considerations that keep us in that closet with our spouses. Yes. But sometimes it's a question of our spouses simply not being ready to come out publicly, and then we're in that closet. So I love how you said I wasn't going to carry that. I was just going to say, she wasn't happy with me doing that because I guess she wasn't ready to acknowledge what it was. But that wasn't my concern. And her well-being was my concern. But, not her social picture.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and important distinction, I think. So what is your relationship with your ex-wife like today? I mean, I know your kids are grown. This happened in the 90s, so it's been quite a while.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
Is that an understatement by chance? Is that an understatement a little bit?
it's a little bit. We're cordial.
Mm-hmm.
I think back, and we're going to get there probably later. I mean, when we were separating and we agreed to get divorced, she was like, I hope we could be friends. And I remember the scenario I put to her. I said, I would much rather see you in ShopRite and help you to your car with your cart than turn and walk away down a different aisle.
Mm-hmm.
I had this vision of being friends. And that didn't work out. Russell got angry about things, and we parented well. I got a standing ovation on Montel because he turned out to be the wrong wife, but a very good mother.
Okay.
And my kids are great. I think we did everything right by them. But as far as spending time together, not going to happen.
Right. And when you and I were talking before and I said I wanted to have you on the show, we talked about calling the episode, which we are calling it the anger episode, because Russell is not afraid to talk about Russell's anger. And I love that because
Nope.
we give, in doing so, I think we give permission for people to have anger where it is appropriate. And I think straight spouses, oftentimes our anger is mislabeled unfairly and inappropriately as homophobia. And it's not.
Misinterpreted.
It's misinterpreted.
Yep.
But we're going to take another quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to really get into the meat of this anger business, Russell. And we're going to talk about what it has been like for you to grapple with Russell's epic anger over the last several years that is kind of famous in straight spouse communities, I have to say. And we love you for it.
A little bit.
So we're going to take another quick break and we'll be right back with Russ Chapman. Hey everyone, the Straight Spouse Network is here for you, providing real support at an unreal time from peers who have walked in your shoes and understand. If you need help, check out straightspouse.org. On our website, you'll find resources, reading material, an open discussion forum, links to the podcast, and more. Reach out. We're here. straightspouse.org. And we are back with Russ Chapman, and we're going to just dive into the whole anger thing. So, Russ, how angry are you?
Oh, I'm still very angry. Apparently, Russell can hold a grudge for nobody's business. I mean, you haven't known me that long. Some back history on the straights. When I first joined, Facebook wasn't there. I mean, the internet was barely there. And I was still very much in love with who I thought I married.
Mm-hmm.
Before I found SSN, and there's another story there, but there was a shoot-off of SSN called the WOGs, Wives and Husbands of Gay Spouses.
Mm-hmm.
They both came up about the same time. The WOGs happened to be local. And it was shortly after my divorce, and I was still in love. I miss this woman. I'm sorry everything happened this way and everything. And I remember my brother going, when are you going to get angry?
Mm.
You get mad at this. And I'm like, well, I love her. I'm sorry. She's in a better place. And my brother's like, yeah, but you're miserable. Yeah, but she's in a better place. And I went to this WOG meeting, Wives and Husbands again, and very nice people, very lovely people. And we're hanging out and just chatting, and then people started telling their stories. I'm telling my stories. And a couple of them were like, were you angry? I'm like, well, no, I'm upset. No, are you angry? What happened? What she did? I said, well, I don't like what she did, but I love her. No, how can you love her? Look what she did. Look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I'm driving home. I'm driving up the Palisades Parkway going, hell, F her.
Right.
What she did to me. I can't believe what she did to me. I'm like, and I called my brother. I said, fucking hate her. And he's like, about time. And I got home that night. I was all revved up, and I started thinking about everything. And I went back to when I proposed, Kristen. When I proposed to her, the first words out of her mouth were, "You don't want to marry me."
Wow.
And I said, "Yes, I do." And she accepted. And during the maelstrom that was our breakup, at one point she said, "I told you didn't want to marry me." And my reply was, "But you didn't tell me why."
Right.
Which right there let me know that this wasn't a new revelation. It had been something that was there. And unless she was the most stellar, stalwart lesbian in the history of lesbians that could run the gauntlet of a marriage, it was going to happen.
Right. So she basically indicated that she knew enough.
She knew enough.
But was not able to take responsibility and put the responsibility on you, actually. Put the responsibility on you. Didn't give you enough information for you to make a correct decision, but put the responsibility on you anyway.
Right. During one of the appearances, I think it was Anderson Cooper, she refused to appear, but she gave a statement. I don't remember it exactly. It was something like, you pretend to be somebody for so long, eventually you can't do that any longer, and someone's going to be hurt. And the hurt was me and, my kids and the families involved and all that. So, yeah, my anger started coming out after the divorce proceedings, because I started thinking about everything. And I've said this often, because we don't, as a straight spouse, you don't just lose your future, you lose your past.
Right.
Because you question everything from that first kiss.
Right.
You question everything for some of us, that first date, that first look across the bar. You lose, you lose everything.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what was real. You don't know what was genuine. You don't know what was you're going, real. Well, did they love me when they kissed me that night? Did they love me when they accepted my proposal? Did they love me when they proposed to me? Yeah. What?
I'll share something I don't share often. I found her journal during the early beginnings, and I looked at her journal, and she had written about the first time that she was with her current partner. She's with the same woman that she left me for. And she wrote down, blah, blah, blah. For the first time, I was able to open my eyes during sex.
Oh, gosh.
And I read that, and I had a flashback to every time we were together. Every time. And all those times her eyes were closed, and I thought I was just that good that she couldn't open her eyes to it. She was so thrilled.
She was in the throes of ecstasy. I like how you added it up in your favor, Russ. Like, way to go.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
And then, I'm looking back on all that, and then it turns out, no, that wasn't it. Damn.
Yeah, like to find out that reason is pretty devastating, actually.
Yeah. So you question everything. And that's where a lot of the anger comes from, is because they take away everything.
Right.
I guess for a lot of people, the love is real. I mean, obviously, my two kids are real, but it's hard to come to terms with that level of betrayal. Yeah.
And I have to say, I think people who are not straight spouses don't always understand the depth of the trauma. I always find something that I can relate to in every guest on the podcast. And my ex-husband and I did not look at each other during sex either. And in fact, the first time I ever was with a lover that looked me dead in the eye during sex, I almost couldn't take it. Like I had to look away until I realized, oh, this is normal. People actually engage with each other visually during sex because it's intimate. And when there's care and love and affection there, that you do look at each other. And when I realized that I had missed out on that level of intimacy in my marriage as well, the eye gazing during sex became a huge point of pain for me to have to work through and get over. There are these thefts in a way of aspects of our sexuality and our sex lives and our emotional lives and intimate lives that people just don't really understand are tremendous points of pain and trauma to have to get over. But I want to ask you too, like, okay, so I love that you're kind of like the mascot for anger and that you're like, yeah, I'll hold a grudge. That's fine. But for our listeners out there who are grappling with their anger, and since you've been grappling with yours for a long time, I want to know, like, what would you offer to our listeners who are grappling with that anger and wrestling with it? Maybe they've been told they shouldn't have it. Maybe they've been told they should get over it. Maybe they've been told that they should be happy for their ex-spouse because now their ex-spouse is out and can be their authentic selves, which, yes, we want, but we don't have to be happy for what happened. So no. What would you say to our listeners who are in the throes of grappling with anger?
All right. And I think this is why we're talking today. Yeah. Anger can be good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you deserve, for our newbies, you deserve to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I mean, I've been angry for myself, and I've been angry for you, Kristen, every other straight that's, gone through this. But don't hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Being this angry for this long is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I got to a point where I kind of embraced it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I'm the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody else to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of work. You almost have to think of that person you're angry at every day to keep this level up. And that's not healthy for anybody.
Right.
It's okay to be angry in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You have a right to be angry. Just as if, wife had gone out with another guy or vice versa. You have every right to be angry at the circumstances and the results of what becomes to your marriage and your family. But don't carry it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy, heavy weight. It's a heavy weight.
Yeah.
I wish I had an answer as to how to get rid of it, because obviously I'm not that guy.
Well, at this point, we've come to know you and love you for precisely your ability to hold the anger simultaneously with a lot of humor.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. There's humor in everything. There's more just about.
Right.
But I think a big part of it is that whole forgiveness thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that, especially on our Facebook page. It comes up quite often, forgiveness is not about that person, it's about you.
Mm-hmm.
I think forgiveness and anger, they don't go hand in hand, but they're kind of related.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of my thing. I have not forgiven yet. Me and lies don't go well together.
Right.
And I get it's supposed to release things for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not that guy either. So it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry that anger past a year or two.
Right.
It becomes something that you almost have to work at.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so much better things to work at.
Right. Than keeping the home fires of the grudge burning.
I mean, yeah, to get as good as I am being angry, I've taken a lot of work from other places.
Right. A lot of energy from other places. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's my thing to the new guys, to the newbies.
Right.
It's okay to be angry. It's okay. But don't let it be something that you hold on to. Anger is good to get you over a hump.
Right.
Get you past a point. But don't let it be your end all.
Right. It's not a chronic state that you want to stay in.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's held me back from some things, I'm sure, whether it's a relationship or, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's where I'm at.
Right.
And I swear there's going to be a day I'm not this angry. It takes people more than 20 years sometimes.
It does. I love when you just said that's where I'm at. Like there is this, that's okay too. Like I would say it took me a full decade to recover. And people think, oh my God, that's a really long time. But when you're dealing with sometimes the levels of deception and gaslighting and script flipping, et cetera, and psychological abuse that we often take in the process of our spouses many times hiding who they are, the fullness of who they are, not just hiding what they did, but hiding who they are. So it's another level of secrecy, of betrayal. And so people don't understand it isn't just getting over or forgiving an incident. It's getting over and forgiving somebody being deceptive in who they are.
Right.
And that's a different level of
over a long
period of time. It is the slow Chinese water torture of deception that sort of erodes also, and it erodes our sense of, like you said, our future, our past, also our sense of trust. And can we assess people? We have a lot of things that we have to recover from that are not part of sort of status quo divorces.
And you said trust, and that's a question I get from the newbies a lot when I'm engaged with them. Is how do you learn to trust again? And I always say the first thing you have to learn to do is trust yourself again. Right. Because the newbies are always looking, how do I trust that next relationship? How do I trust that next person I talk to? And you can't do that until you gain trust in yourself, trust in your own intuition, trust in your own judgment. Because questioning ourselves becomes commonplace after we've questioned everything that's happened. It's not easy to grasp that. Before you start trying to trust a person across the table, you have to trust yourself, trust who you are, what you believe in, and what you can judge and where you want to be. You can't go out and start judging other people. You can't go out and start judging other people or trusting other people until you can trust your own intuition, your own self-confidence, your own beliefs. And it takes a while to go back and trust that because of the betrayal that's been inflicted on you for so long.
Right, because of the nature of the betrayal, the nature of the erosion of our realities, and that we're living essentially in a closet and we don't know it. And well, Russ, I've had such a wonderful time talking to you today, and I know that there are going to be people listening who are going to be grateful for your voice in speaking about anger and joking about anger and having a sense of humor about anger and a sense of acceptance about anger. We're not calling today's episode the anger episode for nothing. And we're so glad that you came on today to talk to us. So thanks for being our guest today, Russ. It's been great having you.
Kristen, it's been my pleasure.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm here anytime you need.
Oh, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, truly, Russ. I'll take another one of those great big Russ bear hugs the next time I see you.
You got it.
To everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much for listening to the Straight Spouse Voices podcast. To our engineer, editor, and my co-producer who rocks this show, Brian Pickrell, thank you so much for all of your hard work. And to everybody else, please tune in next time on our next episode of the Straight Spouse Voices podcast. And until then, this is your host, Kristen, reminding you to keep using your voice.